Karl Turner.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, you've known me a very long time, and you know, as others do, that I often get very angry about the policies of this government. I get angry about injustice, I get angry about inequality, I get angry about the rich and the powerful deliberately stifling the reasonable aspirations of people and the majority of people in my constituency of East Hull. But in the near 12 years since I was elected, that's 4,336 days, I've never ever been so angry about a single act of brutal contempt for decent working people as I was on Thursday last week. Loyal workers sacked by a pre-recorded Zoom call, with replacement crews and balaclava-wearing, handcuff-trained and taser-trained private security waiting on the quayside. This thuggery against workers must be the ultimate new law. But this day's been coming for a long time. I've spent years telling anyone that's prepared to listen to me about the unscrupulous employers using loopholes and ambiguities in maritime law to get away with gross exploitation. If this was happening, Madam Deputy Speaker, to any workers in any business on the mainland, it wouldn't just be illegal, it would be the most grotesque act of illegality in industrial relations most any lawyer, or indeed most any employment tribunal judge, would have ever seen. Yeah. Imagine any of the big employers notifying its staff that they've been sacked with immediate effect and it to be replaced with exploited Eastern European, Filipino, Portuguese or Indian agency workers paid less than £2. Less than £2 an hour. That's what happened. That's what happened here. It's a scandal that the national minimum wage legislation doesn't apply to seafarers on international routes, despite me and members of the Labour Party, members of this side of the House, begging successive maritime ministers to sort it out. And it's a disgrace that this government have allowed this practice to carry on unchallenged. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, for how they've stood up to the onslaught on terms and conditions of their members, we should all pay tribute to the RMT Union and Nautilus International. Yeah. Since Thursday, they've been tirelessly defending the workers. I want to thank Gary Jackson specifically, the RMT's regional organiser, for the unflinching support for the crew on the Pride of Hull, and the ship's captain, Eugene Favier, for his efforts as well. The captain, Captain Favier, is a very modest man. He said he was only doing what was right when he ordered his crew to lift the gangway. But these trade unions do this work year round, day in, day out. And the General Secretaries, Mick Lynch of the RMT and Mark Dickinson of Nautilus, are here in the chamber for the debate. And I thank Mr. Speaker's office for kindly facilitating all other trade union members here today in the gallery watching the debate. The government have continuously refused to listen to me and the unions, refused to close the loopholes, and now 800 families are suffering the consequences by kowtowing to unscrupulous bosses and refusing to back the bill that would have outlawed fire and re-hire. This government have allowed these predatory capitalists, pariah companies like P&O and the parent company DP World, to exploit cheap foreign labour at the expense of British maritime professionals. Kids in East Hull grow up in the shadow of ships in ports, but are shut out of rewarding and prosperous careers at sea. In 2020, we saw a further blow dealt to their aspiration, with P&O axing the Hull-Zeebrugge route at the cost of many more seafarer jobs. You can see that it's deeply personal to me, Madam Deputy Speaker, as my late dad Ken was a proud trade unionist. He was the full-time union official for the National Union Seamen, the predecessor to the RMT, from 1971 until his retirement as National Secretary in 2000. He fought for years, along with other trade unionists, to achieve decent terms and conditions enjoyed by British crews in Hull and across the country until Thursday last week. Those British seafarers sailing out of Hull worked long and demanding hours at sea, but got proper rest breaks and were paid rates that they could live on. They worked stints of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I think my honourable friend wants to intervene.
I thank my old friend for giving way. He's making an incredible speech, and I just wanted this intervention to state that, of course, Hull is united on this issue. The leader of the council, the deputy leader of the council were there at that demonstration, and of course the people of Hull West and Hessel as well.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend. She's absolutely right. That councillors from Hull, Labour council from Hull, attended that rally and are incredibly supportive. They worked stints of 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. That allowed them the proper rest times for safety at sea. Those jobs aren't just pulling pints behind the bar for stewards. It requires skill, experience and safety and survival training. And once upon a time, British seafarers were treated with respect. In my office in Parliament, Madam Deputy Speaker, is a painting of the MV No Land. It's the predecessor ship to the Pride of Hull. It was presented to my dad and my predecessor, Lord Prescott, by Captain Don Ellaby, CBE. When she sailed to the Falklands, we were all proud of her crew, fighting for Queen and country, supplying our navy and the military personnel. The painting illustrates the vessel as she was under fire at sea. In those days, owners of P&O, then North Sea Ferries, were also proud of British ratings and British officers. I think my friend is intervening again.
Just to continue to express what a wonderful speech my friend is making.
Well, of course, I'm bound to agree. Look, I'm not going to spare my anger and wrath today to this government for enabling this industrial vandalism. We now know that ministers were told in advance, and we know officials thought it acceptable to sack 800 men and women with immediate effect, ignoring any liability in law that might apply. It's absolutely despicable, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it's the fault of the Prime Minister and his government. The ideology of small state, leave it to the market, full speed ahead, and devil take the hindmost, Thatcherite philosophy, which allows, defends and incentivises this shocking corporate arrogance and this most malicious act of violence on workers' rights, is their absolute shame. And I spoke with the Secretary of State on Thursday, and I think he was angry. But he can do something about it now. They should support this motion, or they should expect the electorate to sack them at the next election. Unlike our British seafarers sacked last week, they are on good and proper notice. Do something now. Close that loophole. It's possible. It takes a few minutes in an SI. Get on with it.
Order.